Hello, welcome to a new video where we look at the music for the series Behind the Bars. I co-composed this one with the Hollywood composer Chris Walden, and now we listen to the first 90 seconds and then we go into the detail. At first, let's have a look at the strings composed, arranged, recorded, and produced by Hollywood composer Chris Walden. So, at first, I used Soothe. Next is Galfas. And here is the Fab Filter Pro Q3. You see, I reduce the low frequencies and cut them. I reduce 320 Hertz and I reduce nearly 1 kilohertz and use the Dynamic EQ too. Next is the Lindle EQ. Now I shape the sound a little bit and give more higher frequencies. Now I use the Brainworks Master Desk, just a little bit. And gives a lot of presence to it. And here I use the Fab Filter. So, not the Fab Filter, the limiter. Why? You can hear that we have a lot of dynamic and you can see it at this part. It's getting very, very low. For me, it's too low. And when you've got all the other sounds, it's going away too much. So I use the limiter, and here you can use, you can see what I'm doing here. So the sound is still there. And at last, I use the Fab Filter Pro Q3, cutting away at 20 Hertz and boosting at 8.5 kilohertz just at this part here. Sounds really strange and thin. Why did I do this? Because at this part, the beat is coming in and we've got the synth bass. And I wanted to have enough place, so I didn't want to have any basses or bass frequencies in the strings, and wanted to boost the high frequencies to fight against all the rest. But these are not all the strings. So here I have taken a part from above, just a small part, and let's deactivate all the plugins. I just doubled the tempo, and then I used the shaper box. I love this guy. Then more transients with the Steinberg envelope shaper. And next, Simplon. And I used more strings, the guy you heard. And we just listen to the original. So I doubled the tempo, but now with the tape algorithm, so it's higher and faster. And let's add the bit crusher. Then the Devil Lock Deluxe by Soundtoys. Next, we have the shaper box again. And then more transients. Then I use the Simplon, and I use it for fading in the sound, not using volume insert. This I like to use filter. And at last, the Echo Boy by Soundtoys. And at the end, there is another sound. Here I've got the strings, and I wanted to have more bass in the strings, but not really a bass sound. So I just transposed the original. This is how it sounds. Together with the original. We have two different hits. And in the second one, I'm using the filter mini just for reducing the high frequencies. Then we have another parish sound like. And here you can see I've created a WAV file because I like to use the WAV files and then create fade-ins and clip gain and so on. And another sound by Serum. Let's get to the next part. Here we've got the Monster Brass from Cinebrass Cine Samples. And some EQ. Next are two basses. Metropolis Arc 1 bass. In a bass by Monarch. So here I use the cutoff filter, right click, MIDI and OC learn, then use the mod wheel, and now I can play the filter live. Now let's get to the hardest part and we listen to the riser and hits. For this, I like to use WAV files, and when I use instruments like Keep Forest instruments, Ava, Rise and Hit, Gravity, Hybrid Tools, and so on, I like to use the instruments, and then I create WAV files by render in place. And here we've got the same sound, but added a few hits. So let's go to the drums we've got here. I used a lot of different libraries. I just know damage and damage 2 and a lot of other stuff. So I guess one of the things, the clock, is this one. And I've done a little bit editing. This is the original. Too much going on, so at first I reduced some frequencies, then added the Lindle, and I had too much room, so I used the FEP filter. No, the cable guys shaper box. Now let's add some sounds. And here I recorded a door. Here is the room mic. So these are all the drums. Let's have a look at the drum bass. And for the synth bass, there is a new bass coming in. And you can see that I modulated the cutoff frequency too. That's been the hard part, but now the documentary is showing the extreme opposite. It's showing the paradise of the Maledives. The most important thing is the handpan. It's a real handpan played by Tobias Bülow. We are planning to release a sample library with wave files with a lot of different instruments, and the handpan is one of the instruments. I used the Galfos and the Procure 3. And then we have a second handpan coming. Very beautiful. We have two more things. Here is a zebra sound coming in. And we've got a little synth sound by Omnisphere. That was a short look into the music for the documentary Behind the Bars. When you liked this video, please give me a thumb up, and when you got some more questions or suggestions, just leave a comment. See you the next time. Bye!